let's dish on the delish just a little bit, because today, as of this recording, actually tonight, many people throughout North America are going to be seeing an advanced screening of the Bumblebee movie. Unfortunately, it's not being shown in my neck of the woods. So sad. But I did think that it was appropriate to kind of celebrate the impending film by taking a look at something unexpected. Good friend of the channel, Wayne, is allowing me to look at a figure, or rather set of figures, with the Transformers The Last Night Infernocus combiner. Is he good? Is he not? I'm skeptical because I already know 4 out of 5 of these molds, as I've already looked at 4 out of 5 of these molds. Nevertheless, let's see how it works out this time, especially with a new torso. Strap yourself in, because this is going to be quite a ride in the latest GotBot True review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and me everywhere. And this is Infernocus, and I feel like he's going to be idiotic. I know most of this because back in episode 203, I looked at Transformers Prime Abominus, and the limbs, the 4 limbs here, are based on those Legion class figures, and they're average at best. We do have a new torso here, and we do have Quintessa, though I think she probably looks like somebody else. Maybe. Somebody who really kind of doesn't fit in anywhere, oddly enough. Nice packaging, and being an exclusive, they were part of the Mission to Cybertron subline. But did that make them good? I don't know. We're about to find out. So without any further ado, let's head over to the table and take a closer look at these guys. In celebration of a new movie experience, I thought that it would be nice to kind of go back and look at one last movie figure, or set of movie figures, if you will, that being the Last Night Infernocus. And it sounds cool, he should have been cool, but it's more like idiotic Infernocus. He really didn't do anything. Like, he looked cool, and then he got knocked down by Dragonstorm, and I think Prime done a couple of things to the head and chest, and he split apart into his component forms, and then Prime cut all their heads off. It was what it was. He should have had more. He should have had more. And I can't remember for sure, but I feel like in the film he was probably made up of 6 members. Here we have 5, and this is not exactly reminiscent of what we got in the film, though I like this better because we have some orange and it breaks up the rather drab gunmetal gray, though cohesive color scheme that he has. This came out as a Toys R Us exclusive as part of the Mission to Cybertron subline for the film, and you can see the package here, though Quintessa has fallen over. We have some Cybertronian writing on the side. I don't know what it says. We have some art over here. I think that's Optimus. And on the back, of course, we have a picture of Infernocus with his huge sword. We find out that we have bonus Quintessa figure, one of very few representations of any type of Quintessan, though I think she may better represent a different character than the one that she's intended to display as here. And down bottom we have all of the component members for the group. It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah, so there you go. That's the box. And of course it comes with accessories such as an ever-popular collector card. That's one of the corners. They go together to make a big picture if you get all of the Mission to Cybertron line. And that says something. I don't know. There was a cipher. I don't know if it's still around or not. I don't really care. We also have this ginormous set of instructions. You wouldn't know, but the guy was a Titan class figure. We have this pretty cool, I'm going to say gunmetal gray type of sword. It's very reminiscent of that which came with Predaking, and sort of reminds me of the Infernum blade. It, in it and of itself, I suppose, is a combiner because it can split into 2 component swords, or batons or something that Skulk can use in his individual robot mode. And here we have the lady of the hour, the lady with the power, if you will, Quintessa, the female villain, named after a planet, I guess. I don't know, like, if we're gonna have quintessons, I wanted to see quintessons. That being said, this whole set is on loan to me by a friend of the channel, Wayne. And both he and I agree that this silhouette tends to remind both of us more of the Beast Machine's character of Botanica than it does anything to do with the quintessons or Quintessa. And hey, interestingly, side note here, Botanica turned into a plant. And she was on a show called Beast, and she wasn't a beast, Machines, and she wasn't a machine. Go figure, right? Nevertheless, I guess it's a nice little addition, I suppose. It has no color, it has no articulation, it has no transformation. You can stand it up like this. It's doing the only thing it can do. I don't like. It's a zero. You're not gonna play with it. I don't know. I guess it's a nice little addition to stand it up, but it's purely a display piece. There you go. It's purely a display piece. And here we have Infernocus as he comes out of package, and there are things not quite right here, but I'm not going to worry about it now. We'll worry about it in a little bit. I want to look at each of the component parts first, and this should go pretty quickly actually, because technically we've already looked at least 4 out of 5 of these. Back in episode 203, I looked at the Transformers Prime Abominus, Legion class Abominus, and that's what 4 of the limbs here are based upon. So I'll sort of talk about them in reference to that quickly. Speaking of Abominus, since this guy's so closely related to him, I looked at G1 Hunger in episode 205, and I'll talk more about another version when we do some size comparisons later. But yeah, if you want more detail than what I'm going to cover here, episode 203, it had the Transformers Prime Abominus. And so here we begin with Gorge, who is a repaint of Blight, who is based on the G1 character of Blot. And this is kind of a boring repaint. Overall, he's about a 5. I mean, his paint apps, they're boring. They're like a 3. It's gunmetal gray, broken up with ever so slight amount of orange. His articulation, just like Blight, is 3.5. The transformation, just like Blight, is an 8. Overall, this guy's about a 5. And he's sort of going to be our baseline for the rest of the team members. Now, to go to his monster mode is not that hard. But I'll say this, for such a small size, it's a little bit of a nuisance. So we bring the... Actually, before we do that, I guess we should do the articulation. The arms, they go all the way around. We have a butterfly joint back, and I guess kind of forward. Legs go back all the way, forward all the way. He can do the splits forever. No waist, no knee, no elbow. So, you know, it's your typical Legion class. I do feel like things like to bang off one another here, though. So, we bring the chest forward to do the conversion to the, like, monster mode. We flip in the head, which is quite loose on this copy. Then we take the robot mode arms and bring them up over his head. They're going to become the, I guess, like, monster mode feet. We close up the robot mode, like, feet and legs, and we start to bring them around because they're going to become the monster mode arms. And then we bring the lower body together, and we're left with a space right here. The monster head that's on his back should now be able to flip down and out around to that spot there. And you can close in this section that has his head up in it if you are so inclined. Put that down. Straighten all of that up. And now in the end, you know, boom, there you have, Gorge in his monster mode. is it any good? I guess that's up to you. You know, it looks like a miscolored blot to me, but hey, that's just me. Right? Yeah, okay, so to go to his leg mode, because that's really what he's intended to be. Let's be honest here. We lift up this head, and you'll notice that there's a crossbar right here, and that crossbar has two little pegs on it. Well, if we look at the inside of his forearms here in monster mode, you'll notice a little peg hole, and that peg goes locked in there. It's supposed to hold the leg together. It does a rather precarious job. They do like to come off of those pegs if you can get them on, because it's a little tricky to get them on. So we bring those up and we start to close those together as if we were going back to the robot mode. That one is currently on over. That one is currently on over. We open up his feet, we'll say, and then we turn him around this way. Now, you're going to have to open out this chest again, and you're going to have to bring up the robot mode head. On Hunger, on the Transformers Prime Hunger, you can leave the head folded down, but you can't here. You're going to have to bring it up because you're going to need the space in here for the hand of Skulk to go down in and lock in combined mode. Then we bring these robot mode arms down. Now, in package, these were left out to the side like this, but there is a joint here so that, and his robot mode head just fell down there again, but we'll worry about that later, so that they can come in like this behind, so that in the end, basically, right there, boom, that is your first leg for Infernocus. And it would only make sense that I kind of do these guys in the order that I did them when they were part of Abominus. So we've already got Blight / Gorge done. Now we're going to do Ripper Snapper / Glug. Glug? Glug. And yeah, this is the repaint of Ripper Snapper, who is the Transformers Prime representation of the classic character Ripper Snapper. And this one, the paint isn't as good. There's a bit of silver on the back that you will see in his monster mode, and that you can see when he's a leg. You can't see it here. It's mostly black. I guess it's gunmetal gray, but it looks very black. We have some orange eyes. That's it. Paint, again, about 3. The articulation, about 3.5. Again, nothing great. The transformation a little more finicky with an unsatisfying monster mode as far as I'm concerned. So it's about a 6.5. And as a leg, it doesn't hold together particularly well. So if Gorge, that we just looked at, was a 5, this guy's probably 4.5, maybe 4.5. So the articulation, we have a butterfly joint at the shoulder. I guess the head can look forward, but that's really for more transformation. The arms, they can go all the way around. Still no elbow, no waist. The arms also can't go any further out to the side than that, by the way. Getting them up. The legs, they can pretty much do full splits. We can go forward. We can go back. Again, no knee, but you can tilt his ankle, I guess. This mold has been used a lot of times, and I don't know why. It's not a great mold as far as I'm concerned. It's not that fun or that effective. But, you know, that's just me. So, let's try and get to his monster mode. And where do we even begin with this? So we bring, I guess, the front forward and fold his head up. We bring his arms up over. Yeah, because they're going to become his like monster mode feet. Then we come here and we fold like his feet kind of all the way down and around, and then fold these pieces out. And now we have like a sculpted in half a head. Same over here, and those two head halves should peg together. They don't particularly like to do so, but once once you have them together, they will sort of look like this. And then this piece right here that I just lifted up that has the silver on it, you basically lift that up over, and what we have is a series of teeth, and in behind the head a series of notches, and this should be able to sort of lock in there like that. Like I said, for me it's unsatisfying. I don't like this. I don't think it works for Grimlock. I don't think it works as the classic kind of sea shark thing that Ripper Snapper is. This is just, it's like it has an unfinished body or something. You could probably finagle some stuff a little bit. The only thing that's all right with it is the silver that's like dry brushed on it there, but I don't like this mold. I don't. That's why it's weaker than the other one, because I don't like this. In terms of being a leg, now, you really have two options. You can leave this down or you can bring it back. We're going to bring it back because that's the way it's supposed to be. So we bring that back up around. Just like that. We split these and we fold them around as if we were going back to his robot mode. And then we put them back together. Next, we take the whole thing and we turn it around, and we should be able to stand it up. Then we take the robot mode arms, or the beast mode legs if you will, and bring them down. And just like with Gorge, we take Glug's shoulders and hinge them in, butterfly them like kind of behind them, and there you go. There is the other leg of Infernocus. Also, the robot mode head is down here. It too will have to come out so the hand of Skulk can fit in there. Infernocus member number 3 is Infernocon Thrash. Not just Thrash, Infernocon Thrash. And it's an alright mold. This is better use of it than Twin Strike, who is based on the classic character of Sinner Twin. But this is a better use of this mold than Twin Strike was, because these lower leg pieces on my Twin Strike could not move. They were so tight that they could not move. Here, if anything, they might be a little loose, but I'm glad that they can move. So the transformation is a little fiddly at times. It's not great. It's about a 4. The articulation, again, 3.5. The paint, I guess it has a little bit of orange, but again, it's like a 3.5. You know, he's pretty much a 4, 4.5, much like Glug just was. So, the articulation for the guy, you know, he has feet on the back, by the way. Nothing at the head. The arms can go, you know, up and down. They can go well out. The legs can go forward, back, splits. Nothing at the waist. None of that sort of fancy stuff like waist or knees or elbows. None of that fancy stuff here. No, sir. What about his conversion? Well, we'll go to his 2-headed monster mode, and then we'll go to him as an arm. So, his head will stay just as it is, though you can put it down in his body. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know. You take the robot mode arms and you bring them up, and the shoulders kind of angle in over his robot mode head, and then you can swing down his like beast mode front legs like that. After you have that done, you come to the side, and I realize how hard this is to kind of see, but I'm doing my best. You pull this piece out from the side, you rotate it up on the thigh and push it in. Then, right down at the foot, we rotate that around on the ball joint so that his like toes are now facing out. The robot mode foot is now the back heel. We do the same over on this side. We pull this piece out, we swing it up on the thigh, we push it in, we turn this around, and now we have a quadruped 2-headed beast, and we're only forgetting one thing, which is to flip out his tail there. Like it's all right. Like with the right colors you would know it's Twin Strike. Here, would you know that it's Infernocon Thrasher? Thrash? Infernocon Thrash? I don't know. Do you remember Thrash in the movie? Was he around long enough to make an impression? Was he actually part of Infernocus? I don't know. I don't know these burning questions. But this is what we have to turn him into a arm. It's pretty straightforward actually from here. We take the tail and we flip that down. We pick him up like this. We use the front legs and his two heads as like a claw arm. And then these pieces back here kind of just stay as they are. We have, like on the inside of his lower legs, we have pegs. And those pegs will sandwich into holes on the shoulders to kind of make this guy into an arm when the time comes. So far we've had a 5, we'll say a 4.5, and a 4.5. But this guy right here, just as he was with Abominus, he is the standout star of this group as far as I'm concerned. He has, first and foremost, a little bit more color breakup because he has more orange on him. Or rather than more orange, maybe I should say more surface area covered in orange. It's not that he has a lot of it, it's just that it's more predominant instead of just being a pure little highlight. As a Infernocon member, he's still pretty bland. I mean, he's probably around a 5. As the Transformers Prime Windraiser, he was a 7.5. And by the way, Windraiser was based on the classic G1 character of Cutthroat. And it works for that. Does it work for this? I don't know. But I will say this. The articulation is still about a 3.5, but the transformation is 8. It's a great transformation here. And maybe the articulation is even a bit of a 4. You see, here's the thing. We have a head that is still static, but the arms, they can go up and down and way out to the side. And though there's no elbow, we have the arms kind of always in a bit of a bend. And if you're not going to have an elbow, I think kind of having a bend is the smarter way to go, maybe. We have legs that can go well forward and well back and well out to the side. And if you really needed a knee and needed to fake it, you can sort of bend almost the ankle really, but you're sort of faking a knee there, kind of, sort of. So, I like this guy, I like this mold, I think it works really well. How do we get him into his bird mode? Well, we begin by flipping down those ankles, like I said, and there's his bird feet done. Then we can come here to his chest and we flip up his bird head, but as we flip up his bird head, we can also flip back his robot head into the body. Straighten up the bird head there, like that. Right, the bird head is there, the bird feet are there, and the robot mode head is back down in the body. We take his tail and we can bring that down. All that really leaves now are the wings, which we can kind of open out there just so we have it easier to work with. And then we fold that back like that. We fold the shoulder hinge back and we can bring the wings like that. And this is kind of what we end up with for our bird mode. Though I think the best way to see him in all of his glory is kind of via a top-down view, because you can see the wingspan, which is kind of impressive for a Legion class figure. The orange looks nice. I wish it was carried over a little bit to the inside of the wing there. I dig it. It's a fine bird of prey type of thing. Monster, bird of prey monster, I guess. It's easy to get here. What about going to his arm mode? Again, also very easy to get to. So we're going to take those shoulders and we're going to bring them forward, and we're going to take the shoulder and bring it forward, and we're going to bring those wings back. I like to do it this way, though there's different orientations that you can have the wings, but I like to do it this way to give the arm a bit of bulk. Then we can flip the tail up and we turn this around, and again, down really on the ankles here we have pegs. These pegs will go over shoulder pieces so that in the end we have another arm, and the bird mouth will serve as the combined hand. And now we come to the only new mold in the set. It is a new torso. This is the technically hunger of the group, a brand new character named Skulk. And I assume he's the leader because he makes the torso of Infernocus. Now, as were the 4 limbs, are Legion class figures. And just to kind of quickly review, we had Gorge at a 5, we had Glug at a 4, we had Thrasher at, we had Glug at a 4.5, we had Thrasher at a 4.5, and we had Rupture, that's the Wind Razor repaint, the bird. We had Rupture at, honestly, the overall score there is about a 6, maybe even a 6.5. It is the standout star. What about this guy? Because it's a mixed bag so far. Well, first things first, he's a little bit bigger. Instead of being a Legion class figure, he is a Legends class figure, which means he is on par size-wise with characters such as Power of the Prime's Beachcomber, or Titan's Return, Cosmos and Sea Spray, or let's say Combiner Wars, I don't know, Blackjack, Groove, Power Glide, something like Power of the Prime's Outback or Cinder Sword. You get the idea. He's that size. And as such, he does have improved articulation. But before that, his paint. There's a little bit of silver, but like again, he's mostly gunmetal gray. I don't know, his paint 3, I guess. And he's weird. The articulation is all right. It is compromised a bit because he has to be a torso, but it's all right. It's better than a Legion class, but it's not quite as good as what we sort of expect from a Legends class. The head does not move, really. It can go, I guess it can go up and down a bit. It doesn't go left and right. The arms, I guess they can go well out because of transformation, but they can do it. The arm can go forward, can't really go back, not unless you turn this whole shoulder hinge around. We have a bicep swivel, we have an elbow, which is cool, and I like the hand sculpt here for the individual robot. The legs cannot go back because of kibble on the back. They can go forward on what feels like a bit of a ratchet. Oh, maybe it's not a ratchet. They can go forward. We do have a knee. We don't really have a thigh, but maybe we do. Yeah, we do have a thigh. We do have a thigh swivel. I am sorry, we do have a thigh swivel. Here's the thing, we have an entire torso on the back, and it's pretty obvious that that's a torso as far as I'm concerned. We also have pretty obvious that that's another face inside his ribs. The legs, last but not least, because I forgot this, can do full splits. It's like his articulation's all right. So his paints are about, again, a 3. The articulation is about a 7. Like it's not as good as what we get with some Legends class figures, but it's not as bad as a Legion class, so it's about a 7. And now we get to his transformation, which at best I can only give it a 6. Why? Not because it's hard, but because the only thing he turns into is a torso. That is his whole reason for existing. He does not have another alt mode. He doesn't have an alt mode at all, so by himself, like he is here, without his teammates, he's actually kind of technically not a Transformer. If you go by the requisite that Transformers need to transform. Though they were a long time even learning that fine art, now weren't they? So, that being said, we had a 6, a 7, and a 3.5. Overall, this guy is pretty much on par with Rupture. It's about a 6, roughly. I think Rupture's a little bit better because though it's smaller with more limits on the articulation, it has an alt mode. This guy has better articulation, minus an alt mode. So just how do we put this guy into his torso mode anyway, since that's the only thing he does? It's not too hard. We bring the shoulders up and we bring them together. They're really going to kind of serve as his waist and hips, I guess. This head can also come forward. So we open up his rib cage and we can start to bring his head forward. Bring the legs out to the side. Fold the whole thing around and bring it up like this. Now we have ourselves oriented. We can take this individual robot mode head and it angles back and will hide in behind the combined mode head. I do think that's a genius piece of transformation. We can come to the back here and we can close up his ribs again. Then these pieces here, you need to make sure that they're oriented so that you don't see the ball joint. I will turn this back for a second just to show you that in here we have a rectangular peg. Behind the chest here there's a rectangular slot. That peg needs to go in that slot, as it does on the other side as well. It's a bit of a bear to line them up. Once you have them in, they're like that. Then you can come down to the bottom and kind of fold the arms in like that, and using this shoulder hinge, straighten them down, straighten them down. How do I know when I have these arms oriented correctly? We know because of this little piece right here. It is like a latch and a little circular piece, and it's what locks in to the two legs. It needs to be facing forward. Straighten up the knees. And now we have the legs oriented. What about up here? Well, we have holes right out here and holes right out here. That's what the shoulders will be, and that's what the arms will kind of notch into. So, at that bicep swivel, we rotate this up, and we rotate this up. And now we have a torso for Infernocus. That's actually after getting tall enough that he's off screen, but that's okay, because we're about to back up a nice bit, so we have plenty of room to put this guy together. Before we do that though, I wanted desperately to show you this piece right here. This little notch will kind of go into a space, and then this little circular piece that's behind it is what goes into, I guess we'll call it an indent in the legs, and that's what holds the legs in place rather securely. Hunger did not have the little clippy part, he just had the circular bit. And the little clippy part does help with the security and solidity of the legs. As for where it goes in, do you see this little like indent right here? That's where it will go locked in on Glug here. And for our dear Gorge, it will go locked in right there. So that once you put both legs on, you have something that looks like this. Just so you have a better idea of how this locks in, I want you to just take a look right here. There was a space right here, and that little kind of clip piece comes out through the space right here. So it's connected on there, and then we have the rounded piece into the hole right there. The same thing is done on the other leg. So the legs hold on quite solid once they are locked in. Then we need to deal with the arms, and you will notice I have two holes right there. I pointed out pegs earlier. The pegs go on over those holes. Those holes are on the front and the back. So like the ankles or the lower legs of the, component arm pieces really sandwich around that. And there we have an arm attached. By the way, you might want to turn these feet around. It might make it easier to attach them. Of course, over here we have two of those same holes, and we would take our final arm and attach it as well. Though I haven't done the other ones kind of live here on camera, I'm going to try and do this one. The thing is, he's so dark, and all the pieces are so dark that at a bit of a distance, it's a bit of a nuisance to try and put these on. But let's see, since this one's the closest to me. Okay, so I have the two put in up front. And I did the same thing on the other side as I'm doing here, by the way. And those there. And I just sandwich it in. And now there you go. We have the mighty Infernocus in his huge mode. By the way, I didn't show earlier how Skulk can hold these two sword pieces in his hands, but, you know, he can. Who cares? Because the truth is, this is really meant to be a bigger sword and go in the bird hand of Infernocus. So, there you go. Big, imposing, and not exactly. So for paint, well, this isn't the way he really looks in the film. The head is kind of reminiscent, but the body certainly isn't. It's definitely stylized. 8, we'll say. Like, if you know who Infernocus is, if you remember him from last night, you would probably be like, yeah, that's probably that Infernocus guy, but I think you're going to recognize it because of the horns on his head, really, rather than the silhouette. Transformation, not hard to get here at all, really. So I'm going to say 8 for that. And the articulation. Better here than it is on Hunger, but still not perfect. So the arms, like I said, they are attached to the body, and there is like a bicep swivel on Skulk. So, or thigh swivel, whatever you want to call it. So the arms do go forward and back because of that. But I'll tell you this, that peg holding this shoulder piece onto the chest does like to pop off. Easily. Real easily. We only have elbows in as gorilla arms. We do have arms that can go out, you know, a little bit, I guess. This one can go out more. The head doesn't really move, I don't think. No, the head doesn't move. The legs, they can go well out to the side. They can go forward. And they can go back, which is cool. Unlike Hunger, this guy has a knee. I like that. It's, I guess it's about 90 degrees. Still no waist, but I can sort of forgive that, I guess. 7. Overall, this entire set is pretty average. Pretty average. Let me explain what I mean. And perhaps the best way to do that is with a few size comparisons. Here he is with the Transformers Primes Abominus, who I looked at in episode 203 in full, like I said earlier. And, like, this is probably a deluxe class size figure. It's exceedingly average. Overall score is about a 5. Infernocus, because of the larger Legends size torso, is about the size of a Voyager, and he is again exceedingly average, but he beats out this one because he does have a bigger size and slightly better articulation. So if this one was a 5, then Infernocus is about a 7. That being said, if you want kind of you know, an Abominus inspired type of combiner, then why not go just for the Combiner Wars, or the Power of the Primes, I should say, Abominus. And I looked at all the members of the Power of the Primes Abominus a while ago. I looked at Ripper Snapper in episode 395, Hunger in episode 396, I looked at Blot in episode 416, Cutthroat in 417, Sinner Twin in 418, and the combined Abominus in 419. And all of them have had custom paint apps. You see, here's the thing. Infernocus, as he is about a 7. But it should have been a good character. An engaging character. It should have been a good figure. And the fact that for an exclusive, this is what was chosen to make the combiner rather than like Combiner Wars technology. Like the fact that we used these Legends class figures rather than using Combiner Wars technology with deluxe class limbs and a Voyager class body is sort of unforgivable. We could have had a better Infernocus. We could have had a cool movie combiner. We could have, but we didn't. And that's a shame. Infernocus as he is alright, but he could have been so much more. Is he a recommend nevertheless? He's fine, I guess, if you're going to spend $20 or $25 on him, Canadian. But here's the thing, he retailed around here for $49.99. This is not a $50 toy or set of toys. It's just not. A lot of people would argue with me and say, yeah, it sure is. That's a lot of value for 50 bucks. I disagree. I don't think so. Maybe I have higher standards. But I would rather pay the extra cost to have a good Combiner Wars inspired version of this guy than to have this kind of phoned in, lackluster version. Even though I will give credit where credit is due, they did try to make a nice uniform color scheme, and they did do the smart thing and provide a better Legends class torso. I respect the effort that was made, but at the end of the day, I feel like it was still phoned in, and that Infernocus, neither in film nor in toy, ever got the attention or the respect that probably he deserved to have. And here we are once again, and this is really a similar set to that Abominus set. If you didn't like that Abominus set, this is not going to change your mind at all. Obviously, the intention was to have a unified color scheme, and that means that each individual bot is pretty boring to look at. Skulk doesn't even have his own alt mode. Is he even a transformer? Is he even a transformer? Combined, it's alright, but it's not great. And it's about Voyager size. Here's the thing that gets me. Infernocus could have been, both in the movie and in toy, a really cool, engaging, I guess, character, or the Infernocons could have been an engaging set, a brand new combiner, a brand new fiction. It was kind of exciting, especially with what is admittedly a very cool head sculpt. I guess he could have been a Decepticon. It would have been more intriguing to have this look actually be an Autobot. I know he wasn't, but it would have been intriguing. And in an age where we have the technology and the design of things like Combiner Wars and Power of the Primes, we should not have gotten a reuse of those Legion class molds to make this guy. Even if it was going to be a box set exclusive, it should have been based on the Combiner Wars style. It should have been that size, it should have been 4 deluxes, and it should have had a Voyager torso. Now, to be fair, they did rectify something from that Abominus in making the torso a Legends class size. With Abominus, all 5, including the torso, were the same size. They were all Legion class. This time around, they upsized the torso, being Skulk, and made him basically a Legends class figure. He's not as good, mind you, as Brawn or, I don't know, any of the clones or Sea Spray. They all have alt modes. This guy don't, except for the torso. And his articulation at points is limited. Admittedly, he sacrifices a lot to be a torso. This is not worth the price point. It's not a stellar representation of a character that really wasn't given too much love in the film, to be honest with you. It's not as good as it could have been. If you find it on sale somewhere, on clearance, 20 bucks, maybe go for it. Hey, why not? But definitely not worth the full cost of admission. At least not in my estimation. Even for those of us in the franchise that are movie fans and movie collectors, I don't think that this guy really is up to snuff. I'd like to see Studio Series take a crack at this dude and see what we end up with there. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Anyway, let me know what you think of this guy and what you would like to see for him in the future, if anything. You know, I love to hear from you guys. I thank you very much for dropping by, for giving me some of your extremely valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.